The galactic battlefield stretched beyond the horizon, a graveyard of wreckage from 1,000 failed invasions. For centuries, the unified Dominion, a coalition of the galaxy's most advanced species, had sought to conquer Earth. They had crushed civilizations spanning thousands of light years, reducing entire star systems to dust. And yet, despite their overwhelming firepower and technological superiority, every single attempt to subjugate humanity had ended in catastrophic failure. This was not just frustrating. It was impossible. The latest invasion fleet, commanded by Supreme Strategist Zalzir of the Venlori Imperium, floated in high orbit, observing Earth through advanced scanners. Zalzir had spent his life studying warfare, meticulously analyzing every past invasion attempt against this stubborn species. He had learned from the failures of his predecessors. The mistakes that had led to their downfall would not be repeated. And yet, there was doubt. "Admiral, the calculations are complete," said a thin, insectoid officer with shimmering blue chitin. "Statistically speaking, there is no logical reason for our predecessors' losses. Humanity should not have been able to resist the Dominion." Zalzir nodded. He had heard this before. The Dominion had the advantage in every conceivable way: energy weapons, planetary bombardment, cyber warfare, even psychological manipulation. But every war against humanity had followed the same inexplicable pattern: a promising start, unexpected setbacks, then complete, humiliating defeat. "Explain," Zalzir ordered. The officer hesitated. "It's difficult to define, Supreme Strategist. Every known species operates within predictable patterns: sociological behaviors, technological limitations, and logical military responses. Humans, however, they are different. They adapt beyond what should be possible. They innovate in ways that seem almost unnatural. They take insane risks that somehow work." Zalzir narrowed his glowing amber eyes. Define unnatural. They defy probability itself. In past wars, their soldiers have turned disadvantage into strength. They've sabotaged our ships with primitive tools, hacked our AI with outdated software, and won. There is something about humanity that we do not understand. Zalzir let out a slow breath. He had dismissed these theories before. The concept of human unpredictability had been labeled as superstition by the Dominion's High Council. But too many fleets had vanished for him to ignore it any longer. He turned toward the viewing screen, observing Earth below. Billions of humans lived their short, chaotic lives, oblivious to the storm looming above them. The Dominion had raised planets before, reduced thriving civilizations to nothing but ruins. And yet, here, against this species, they had always failed. "No more. This time will be different," Zalzir declared. "Deploy the first wave. Let us see if the myths are true." On Earth, General Marcus Hayes stood in the underground command bunker, watching the alien fleet's descent. The Dominion was making another attempt. He smirked. It was almost routine at this point. "Sir, enemy forces are mobilizing," said Lieutenant Ramirez, scanning the incoming data. "Same as last time, overconfident, methodical, completely sure of victory." "Good," Hayes said, cracking his knuckles. "That means they haven't figured it out yet." His officers chuckled, but beneath their laughter was steel. Earth had been invaded too many times. They had stopped fearing the enemy long ago. "Orders, sir?" Ramirez asked. Hayes grinned. "Let's give them a warm welcome." With a single command, Earth's defense systems roared to life. Hidden artillery emplacements emerged from beneath cities. Electromagnetic disruptors prepared to shut down Dominion war machines. And most importantly, humanity's greatest weapon remained unseen, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The aliens thought they were ready. They had no idea. The Dominion drop pods tore through Earth's atmosphere like a meteor shower, their hulls glowing with friction against the air. Inside each pod, elite alien soldiers stood ready, trained warriors from over 100 species, bred for war, armed with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. They had been promised an easy victory. As Supreme Strategist Zalzir watched from orbit, he spoke into the command relay. Proceed as planned. Overwhelm their defenses before they can react. The Dominion had always assumed that brute force was the key to conquering Earth. This time, Zalzir had deployed an overwhelming force, millions of troops landing across major population centers in a synchronized attack. But as the pods slammed into Earth's surface and the first squads poured out, something felt off. New York City, Drop Zone Alpha. Squad leader Vrask, a hulking reptilian warrior, led his team through the ruined cityscape. The humans had abandoned the streets, but something wasn't right. There were no barricades, no signs of a battle, just eerie silence. They have fled like the weaklings they are, growled a soldier beside him. But Vrask wasn't convinced. The humans had never run before. He activated his scanner, searching for life signs. Nothing. Not even in the buildings. Commander, there is no resistance, Vrask reported to orbit. Advance. Secure the city, Zalzir's voice crackled back. Vrask signaled his squad forward. They moved through the streets, weapons raised, stepping over abandoned vehicles. They spread out to secure the area. That's when the first soldier screamed. Vrask spun around. One of his men was gone. His rifle lay on the ground. No blood, no sign of struggle, just missing. Report, he barked. Silence. Then another scream. Another soldier vanished. Panic began to spread through the ranks. Motion trackers flickered wildly, detecting movement everywhere and nowhere. The comms erupted with frantic voices. Sir, we are being static. A shadow flickered above them. A blur of motion. A single gunshot echoed through the city. Then all hell broke loose. Gunfire erupted from the rooftops. Explosions tore through the streets. Dominion warriors scrambled for cover, but there was no cover to be found. They weren't fighting an army. They weren't fighting a force. They were fighting ghosts. London, Drop Zone Beta. On the other side of the world, a different kind of nightmare unfolded. The Dominion's mechanical war machines advanced through the streets, towering constructs of metal and plasma weaponry. They were designed to wipe out resistance in minutes. Then, without warning, their systems shut down. One by one, the towering war walkers collapsed, their circuits fried. Dominion engineers scrambled to reactivate them, but their control panels only displayed a mocking message. Nice try. A moment later, the air filled with the unmistakable roar of human fighter jets. They should have been primitive, useless against Dominion shielding. But somehow, their missiles found their targets, weaving between energy fields, striking with pinpoint accuracy. The Dominion's advantage vanished in an instant. Supreme Strategist Zalzir, Dominion Command Ship. Zalzir watched in disbelief as the battle reports flooded in. His soldiers weren't just losing. They were disappearing. His war machines were failing in ways that shouldn't be possible. The humans weren't fighting conventionally. They were playing with the very rules of war itself. This was what every Dominion general before him had faced. The creeping, unexplainable horror of war against humanity. How are they doing this? He hissed. His officer trembled. Sir, it's happening again. Zalzir clenched his fists. No. Not this time. He was going to find out the truth. Supreme Strategist Zalzir stood on the observation deck of his flagship, staring at the chaos unfolding below. His fleet had initiated a planetary lockdown, cutting off Earth's communication with the rest of the galaxy. No reinforcements would arrive. No escape was possible. Yet despite every advantage, his forces were faltering. He couldn't understand it. His soldiers, unmatched in technology and strength, were failing against a species that should have been helpless. And worse, his war machines were being hacked, sabotaged by what seemed to be human ingenuity, using methods so rudimentary they defied comprehension. How had they even accessed Dominion systems? They're adapting faster than we can react, one of his officers said. It's as if they've studied every single tactic and countermeasure we've ever used and created responses specifically tailored to defeat us. Zalzir's golden eyes narrowed. No. They know us. This is no mere coincidence. Earth Underground Bunker, New York City. Lieutenant Ramirez sat across from a captured Dominion soldier. The creature, a tall, insectoid being with multiple eyes, twitched nervously as it was strapped into the interrogation chair. A human soldier hovered nearby, his rifle pointed but not aimed, yet the message was clear: resist, and you die. Ramirez leaned forward, staring down at the alien. Tell us how you've been doing it. How are you hacking our systems? How are you always one step ahead? The alien's eyes darted around the room, its mandibles clicking nervously. You don't understand. You cannot understand. It spat, and the liquid sizzled as it hit the ground. You think you're so clever, humans. But you're blind. You've already won. Ramirez frowned. What are you talking about? The alien hissed. You think you've outwitted us. You think it's your machines, your technology. But the truth is far more terrifying. A chill ran down Ramirez's spine. What do you mean? The alien's mandibles clacked together as it took a deep breath, as though preparing for the truth to escape. It's not just your weapons or your tactics. It's you. It's the humans. You don't know what you're dealing with. Ramirez leaned in closer. Explain. Now. The alien's voice dropped to a low whisper. Your kind has a secret. A power, buried deep inside you. It's something you can't even begin to comprehend, but it's there. It's why you never lose. It's why every invasion, no matter how perfectly executed, always ends in failure. Ramirez's brow furrowed in confusion. What secret? The alien trembled. The reason you win? It's not your tactics. It's not your technology. It's your spirit. Your ability to break the rules. To defy the impossible. You humans can reshape reality around you. You make things happen against all odds. That is why no one can beat you. You never give up. No matter how hopeless. No matter how impossible. Your will is your weapon. Ramirez blinked, stunned. What are you saying? Are you claiming that our willpower is how we defeat you? The alien nodded slowly. Yes. That's why it's always the same. Every time we think we have you, when we think we've crushed you, you find a way to turn it all around. You break the laws of nature itself. It's a force we cannot fight. And we cannot understand it. As Ramirez processed the alien's words, the implications began to dawn on him. It wasn't the tech. It wasn't the strategy. Humanity's greatest weapon was something far deeper, something intangible. It was their unyielding, relentless will to survive. The sheer force of their spirit reshaped the battlefield, turning despair into triumph. The human lieutenant stared at the trembling alien. And you didn't even know what you were up against. The alien's mandibles clicked again in defeat. We never stood a chance. Dominion Command Ship, Zalzir's Bridge. Zalzir paced back and forth, his mind racing. He had heard the alien's report, and everything about it felt wrong. He refused to believe it. There had to be a logical explanation, a strategy he could counter. But then, the reports came in. His fleets were retreating. Their energy reserves were being drained by unknown forces. The entire invasion was unraveling. Sir, we've lost all communications with our ground forces. They're pulling back, his communications officer reported. The humans are hacking our networks at an unprecedented scale. Zalzir stopped in his tracks, his heart pounding. Impossible. The humans can't. A voice interrupted his thoughts. It was an encrypted message, originating from the highest echelon of the Dominion's intelligence. The message read, they're not hacking our systems, strategist. They're hacking reality itself. Zalzir's mind went blank. He had heard of these rumors, ancient myths from civilizations long since extinguished, whispers of beings who could shape the fabric of reality. But he had never believed them. Could humanity truly possess such power? The war had only just begun, but now Zalzir faced a new kind of enemy. One that wasn't bound by the laws of physics or logic. One that could, quite literally, rewrite the rules of war. And he had no idea how to defeat it. The Dominion fleet was in disarray. Their ships, once pristine and mighty, were now drifting helplessly in orbit. The invasion, meant to be the greatest military campaign in the history of the galaxy, was collapsing under the weight of something none of Zalzir's forces had anticipated: humanity's will to survive. Strategist Zalzir, came a trembling voice from his communications officer, we've lost contact with every major command center on the surface. Our troops are retreating at full speed. We cannot hold the position. Zalzir's golden eyes flickered, momentarily filled with disbelief. This cannot be happening. Full damage reports, now. Yes, Supreme Strategist, the officer responded, typing rapidly. The planetary shields are down. Energy reserves are dangerously low. Our war machines are malfunctioning due to an unknown force, some kind of interference we've never seen before. Our fleet cannot operate. We are defeated. Zalzir's fist clenched so tightly that his claws dug into his palms. He could feel the defeat wrapping itself around his heart. He had led 1,000 successful campaigns across the galaxy, each one marked by decisive victories. And yet, against humanity, he was powerless. The truth that had been whispered by the alien prisoner echoed in his mind: humans don't just fight for survival. They bend reality itself to their will. And there, in that brutal, agonizing moment, Zalzir realized that no amount of power, no amount of strategy, could ever defeat what humanity had inside them. New York City, Resistance Headquarters. General Marcus Hayes stood before a large holographic map of the battlefield. The map was alive with data points, tracking the movements of the Dominion fleet and its rapidly retreating forces. We've done it, Hayes said, his voice barely a whisper, a mix of disbelief and awe. They're retreating. It's over. Lieutenant Ramirez stepped forward, his face grim. Not yet, sir. The Dominion's still above us. If they regroup, they could come back with reinforcements. Hayes nodded, but something deep inside him told him that this time, victory was final. The Dominion had faced the human spirit, and it had buckled. Our strength wasn't in the weapons we used, Hayes said, looking at his team. It was in what we are. We didn't just fight back, we redefined the battle as we went along. The Dominion had one plan, and we just kept tearing it apart. Piece by piece. Ramirez raised an eyebrow. It wasn't just our tactics, was it? Hayes shook his head. No. It wasn't. It was something deeper. Something they couldn't understand. Our will, our refusal to give up, to die quietly, to accept defeat. His voice hardened, and he turned to the others in the room. That's why they lost. Not because we were better fighters or had better tech, but because we, as humans, refused to be conquered. And they couldn't comprehend that. Dominion Command Ship, Zalzir's observation deck. Supreme Strategist, an officer called urgently, rushing into the chamber. The last of our warships have been disabled. The retreat is complete. The planet is lost. Zalzir stood motionless, staring out into the abyss of space. The Earth was now under full human control. Their forces had been shattered, their ships adrift. Every calculated move, every military maneuver, had been countered by something they hadn't even known to prepare for. This cannot be, Zalzir muttered. He turned, his voice quiet but filled with a cold fury. There must be something left, anything. We've invested too much, risked too much. An aide hesitated before speaking. There is one thing left, strategist. There is one more possibility. Zalzir's eyes narrowed. Speak. The myth, sir. The one we all thought was impossible. The humanity weapon, their ability to bend reality itself. The aide paused. It's not just a story. It's true. Zalzir's heart skipped a beat. Are you suggesting that their power isn't limited to warfare or technology? The aide swallowed hard. No, strategist. I'm saying humanity rewrites the rules. It's how they adapt, how they innovate, how they rise from defeat and turn the tables. It's more than willpower. It's an unseen force, a mental power that distorts the very fabric of reality when humans push themselves to their limits. Zalzir stared at the officer in disbelief. He had studied countless species, catalogued their strengths and weaknesses. But nothing had prepared him for this. The human spirit, it seemed, was not just an abstract concept. It was a tangible, dangerous force. If humanity could truly bend reality itself, then this war wasn't just a failure. It was a reckoning. Earth, Resistance Command Center. The atmosphere inside the underground command bunker was electric, alive with the energy of victory. But General Hayes felt a weight settling on his shoulders, one he couldn't quite explain. The battle was won, but at what cost? Was it truly over? General, Ramirez called, the last of their warships are leaving orbit. The fleet's retreating to deep space. Hayes nodded, but his gaze remained distant. Victory is only temporary. We've driven them back. But they will be back. They always come back. He paused, thinking about the strange, mysterious force that had helped humanity win. A force no one could explain, even now. Ramirez stood by his side. Sir, what happens now? We've beaten them, but if they can't understand how we won, how do we prepare for the next fight? Hayes didn't answer right away. He looked at the sky through the command center's viewport, his mind racing. We prepare the same way we always have. By staying human. Whatever they think we are, whatever they think we can't do, we prove them wrong. And with that, the war, for now, was over. But Hayes knew one thing for certain, the true test of humanity had just begun. The Dominion had retreated to the far corners of the galaxy, licking their wounds, their pride shattered. They had underestimated the humans, no, more than that. They had underestimated humanity's spirit, the force that bent the laws of war, of physics, and even reality itself. But even in their retreat, the Dominion was not the only threat humanity had to face. In the aftermath of the battle, General Marcus Hayes sat alone in his quarters. The victory against the Dominion was a triumph beyond anything anyone could have expected, but the weight of it bore heavily on his shoulders. He kept replaying the final moments of the battle over and over in his mind. The retreating ships, the flickering comms, the eerie silence that fell across Earth as the last Dominion forces were crushed. There was something not quite right about it. Humanity had won, yes, but why had they won? Why had it been so easy to defeat a superior, technologically advanced enemy? Hayes didn't trust the answers that had been given. There had to be more to this mystery. He wasn't the only one who felt this way. Dominion command ship, deep space. Zalzir sat in the empty command chair of his flagship, staring out at the cold, silent expanse of space. His fleet had retreated to a distant star system, far from the human-infested planet Earth. There were no celebrations here, no victory parties. Only the dull hum of the ship's engines as it drifted, aimless. He had lost. A loss unlike any he had ever known. Not just the battle, but the entire war. The messages from the other Dominion generals had flooded in, filled with frustration and disbelief. They all asked the same question: how could they have lost? They had superior technology, superior forces, superior everything. And yet, humanity's will had prevailed. The aide who had first mentioned the human power sat before him, nervously glancing at Zalzir. Strategist, I have something else. It's about humanity's weapon, it's not just their will. It's something older, something beyond their comprehension. Zalzir's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? Sir, the truth is, there is an ancient force within humanity. Something no one has ever fully understood. It's been theorized by our oldest records, long before the Dominion ever rose to power. The aide hesitated. We thought it was just myth, but now, we're seeing the truth. Zalzir leaned forward. Spit it out, officer. The weapon, the true weapon, is not of this universe. It's a force older than all the galactic empires combined. Humanity, your species is the living, breathing manifestation of this power. It's not will alone, it's something else. Something no empire has ever encountered. Zalzir froze. What are you saying? That humans are some kind of chosen species? The aide nodded. Not chosen. Forged by a force far older than us all. And we cannot defeat it. No matter how advanced we become, no matter how much power we wield, it will always be the humans who win. It's in their very nature. Zalzir's heart pounded as the weight of the revelation sank in. He had spent his entire life studying the stars, conquering worlds, and building an empire. But there was something on Earth, that even the Dominion couldn't comprehend. And it was a force far beyond any technology or strategy. Earth, Resistance Command Center. Back on Earth, General Hayes sat with his top advisors, scanning the latest reports. The Dominion had retreated, yes, but something was off. The planetside atmosphere was calm, but his gut told him there was more to this peace than met the eye. He turned to his most trusted officer, Lieutenant Ramirez. I don't trust this, Ramirez. I can't shake the feeling that this isn't over. There's something out there. Ramirez frowned. Sir, we just defeated them. We've wiped out their fleet. What else could be left? Hayes shook his head, looking out at the Earth's horizon through the large viewport. It's not just about what we defeated. It's what they were afraid of, what they were really afraid of. Ramirez was silent for a moment before speaking. You mean the power we've discovered? The force inside us all? Hayes nodded. Yes. But I don't think we fully understand it. We've been using it, tapping into it, but what if it's a double-edged sword? What if this force is more dangerous than we know? Before Ramirez could respond, an encrypted transmission came through. The message was coded in a language only humanity had ever known. A new voice spoke through the comms, one that had never been heard before. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only static. Ramirez looked at Hayes. What was that? Who was that? Hayes' face turned pale. I don't know. But I think we've just awakened something worse than the Dominion. Far beyond the stars. Far beyond the known universe, in a space so dark it seemed to swallow all light, something stirred. A presence, ancient and vast, watched humanity from a distance. A force older than time itself. It was aware of the humans now. And it had taken note of their power, their victory. But even more than that, it had seen the force that had been awakened within them. The force that could shift the very fabric of reality. And it had decided. Humanity was not just a species to be conquered. It was a species to be tested. The transmission had left General Hayes shaken, his mind racing with questions that had no answers. The message had been brief, cryptic, and above all, ominous. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. Who had sent it? And why had it come now, at the moment when humanity's victory over the Dominion seemed assured? Hayes couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The Dominion had retreated, yes, but the unsettling knowledge that they had been dealing with something more than just an alien empire still gnawed at him. He glanced at the console in front of him, the mysterious transmission playing back over and over. General? Ramirez's voice broke through his thoughts. We've intercepted another transmission. It's the same. Hayes looked up sharply. Play it. The words were as cryptic as before. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. But this time, there was a subtle distortion in the voice, an eerie undertone that sent chills down Hayes' spine. It was clear now that this wasn't some isolated transmission from the Dominion. This was something far more troubling. Have you traced the source? Hayes asked, his voice steady but filled with an undercurrent of fear. No, sir, Ramirez replied. It's coming from a location outside known space. Somewhere far beyond anything we've charted. That's impossible, Hayes muttered. We've mapped every inch of space we could reach. This isn't a place that exists. Then what is it, sir? Ramirez asked, his tone uneasy. Hayes stood up from his seat, his mind racing. The Dominion had retreated, but the galaxy was still far from safe. The message, the unexplained transmission, it was a warning, something was coming. Something that wasn't from any known civilization. Prepare a fleet, Hayes said, his voice firm. We're going to need to find out what this beginning really is. Dominion fleet, deep space. Zalzir paced in his quarters, his mind consumed with the same thoughts that had plagued him since the retreat from Earth. The Dominion had faced many enemies in the past, but nothing like humanity. Nothing that bent reality itself. Yet even as they licked their wounds, the Dominion's defeat was not the only source of Zalzir's concern. He had not been able to shake the feeling that there was something more, something darker, lurking behind humanity's power. The force they had awakened was not merely a survival instinct or willpower. It was something else entirely. He had heard rumors, old stories of an entity older than the stars themselves. An ancient force, watching and waiting. Zalzir's communications officer entered, bowing respectfully. Strategist, we have detected an anomaly. It's unlike anything we've ever encountered. Zalzir raised an eyebrow. Explain. The officer hesitated. It's a distortion in the fabric of spacetime. Something is approaching, but it is not of this universe. It's emanating from the outer edges of the known galaxy. The closest we can find is a location designated as X19Z. But it's not supposed to exist. There's no record of it. Zalzir's mind whirred. A force from beyond known space? This is no ordinary enemy. No, sir. And it's growing stronger. We've also detected strange transmissions, almost like warnings. The officer hesitated again. Warnings directed at humanity. Zalzir clenched his fists. If what they were dealing with was truly something beyond anything in their galaxy, then humanity had unknowingly awakened something far darker than the Dominion could ever have prepared for. This force was not merely an external threat, it was something fundamental, something that threatened to redefine everything humanity had fought for. And Zalzir was beginning to realize that this might be humanity's greatest test yet. Earth, Resistance Command Center. The preparations for the journey into the unknown were underway. General Hayes stood at the helm of the command center, his mind swirling with plans and strategies. The fleet was ready, but he could feel the tension in the air, a sense of unease spreading among the ranks. They had faced the Dominion and won, but now they were facing something else. Sir, the fleet is ready for launch, Ramirez reported, her voice taut with anxiety. We'll be leaving within the hour. Hayes nodded. All right. Prepare for long-range travel. We don't know what we'll find out there, but we need answers. If this force is coming, we'll be ready. As the countdown began, Hayes stood before the massive viewport of the command center, staring out at the vastness of space. The stars were silent, distant, but he could feel something out there, something watching. Something that had been waiting. Commander, Ramirez said, her voice uncertain. What if we're not ready for this? What if this is beyond anything we can handle? Hayes turned to her, his expression steely. Then we do what we always do, Ramirez. We adapt. We fight. He stepped forward, his face determined. We'll find out who or what is behind this. And we'll stop it. As the fleet prepared to venture into the uncharted regions beyond known space, the galaxy held its breath. A force far beyond the reach of the Dominion, and far beyond humanity's understanding, was about to collide with their world. But humanity, ever resilient, was determined to face it head-on. Whatever it was, humanity would not be its prey. The fleet had traveled far beyond the borders of known space, beyond where any human, Dominion, or other galactic empire had dared to go. They moved toward the anomaly, the source of the cryptic warnings, the place where reality itself seemed to fray at the edges. General Hayes stood on the bridge of the UHS Dauntless, his hands clasped behind his back. Through the massive viewport, the space ahead looked wrong. The stars twisted unnaturally, pulsing with an eerie rhythm. It was as if the universe itself was trying to hold something back, something ancient, something powerful. A voice crackled over the fleet-wide comms. "Sir, we're detecting a massive gravitational disturbance. It's forming right in front of us." Before anyone could react, space ripped open. A void darker than the deepest black emerged from nothingness, swallowing all light around it. And from that void, they came. Not ships. Not creatures. But entities. Beings of shifting, unknowable form. They did not belong to the physical world, and yet they were here, observing. Watching. Testing. Hayes felt the weight of something pressing down on his mind. These beings weren't just looking at them, they were studying them, peeling back the layers of what made humans what they were. A single voice echoed inside his skull. No speakers, no translation devices, just pure thought. "You are not meant to exist." Hayes gritted his teeth, shaking off the invasive presence in his mind. "Who are you?" he demanded. "We are the first. The eternal. We are the ones who shaped the stars before time. And you are an anomaly." The crew of the Dauntless shuddered as the pressure in their minds increased. Ramirez clutched her head, groaning. The other officers stumbled, struggling to resist. Hayes clenched his fists. "If we're an anomaly, why do we exist at all? Who made us?" The voice hesitated. And in that hesitation, Hayes sensed fear. "You were not made. You were not shaped. You became." The realization hit Hayes like a sledgehammer. These beings, the first asterisk, had created civilizations, had controlled the evolution of countless species. They had manipulated the course of history for eons. But humanity? Humanity had emerged on its own. No divine intervention. No cosmic architects. No predetermined fate. Humanity had clawed its way up from the dirt, had defied extinction time and time again, had risen beyond their limits, had conquered death itself with sheer will. They were the one thing the first could not control. And that terrified them. Hayes grinned. "Well, that makes two of us. Because we don't know what we're supposed to be either." The first recoiled. The void shuddered. "You are a disruption. You do not follow the pattern. You defy order. You should not exist." Hayes stepped forward, fire in his eyes. "And yet, here we are." The fleet's weapons locked onto the entities, but Hayes knew this wasn't a fight that could be won with firepower. This was something deeper. Humanity wasn't just resisting an enemy, they were proving a fundamental truth. That they couldn't be controlled. That they wouldn't break. And in that moment, the first understood. A soundless pulse rippled through space, and the void began to collapse. The entities pulled back, retreating into the abyss, their forms shifting, unraveling. The massive rift in space sealed itself behind them, leaving only the endless stars. Silence fell over the fleet. Ramirez exhaled sharply. "Did we just win?" Hayes nodded, still staring into the emptiness where the first had been. "Yeah. We won. Because in the end, humanity's secret weapon wasn't their technology, their ships, or even their strength. It was their ability to defy the odds. To rewrite the rules of reality. To refuse to be anything other than what they chose to be. The first had tried to end them. But humanity had done what it always did. It had survived. It had won. And the galaxy would never be the same again.